Hi, I'm Paige Thompson, and this is Driftwood Christian Stories of Faith podcast. And this is
Sherry Settle.
Today we are talking to Sherry to learn more about her and her journey. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brownstown, lived here all my life, except I lived in Crothersville for a few months. Other than that, I've lived here all my life.
What was that like?
It was good. I had a good growing up. I sometimes wish we could go back to the way I lived during the time when we got up first thing in the morning, we had breakfast, we took off with our friends. Our bellies told us it was time for lunch, and the lightning bugs told us it was time to go home in the evenings.
Did you have friends and were you popular?
Well, I'm not going to say I was popular, but yes, I had friends. There's always those cliques, and I don't believe I ever really was a part of a clique, but we had lots of friends. I lived near the trailer park. It built up around where my mom and dad's house was, and so there were a lot of kids from the trailer park that we ran around with. There was a lot of kids at my church. In fact, there was like 12 of us that were baptized in one night because there was several in my age group. So we all ran around a lot together.
What did you like to do with that during your childhood?
Oh gosh, probably just running around with my friends. We went to the swimming pool. We went to the library. There were not all the AAU sports and things like that. I got involved in things in school. I did the class plays. I was on yearbook staff, and the newspaper staff, things like that.
What was your favorite memory about growing up?
Oh gosh, probably just my friends and family and the love that I felt when I was growing up.
Did you have a good childhood?
I did. There were some hard times in my childhood, but I did have a very good childhood. Oh my gosh, one time in third grade, my mom always told us if we ever got in trouble at school that we would get it double when we got home. And I don't know if you even remember, but we used to make these things with paper and it would go like this, and it would have it was like a Ouija ball or like an 8 ball, and it would say you'd answer questions and stuff. And I was making one of those one time when a kid was given a book report, and the teacher came over and yelled at me and made me stand out in the hall. And oh my God, I cried and I cried, and because I thought my mom and dad was going to make me stay out on the porch all night long, because I mean they drilled that into my, you get in trouble at school, you're going to get it double at home. And I'm thinking, how are they going to make me stand in the hall? So that's about the only time I think I got in trouble at school.
Do you still have friends from your childhood?
Absolutely. A lot of my friends are still the ones from when I grew up, the ones from church mostly.
Were your parents Christian?
My mother was. My dad was a hard man. Mom and dad fought a lot. My dad worked hard. He played music hard and he drank hard. And so that was what was hard. I knew my dad loved me, but growing up, they fought a lot, and so that was hard. But I think after my mom got sick, that my dad changed some of his ways. So
Did you grow up in church?
I did. We went to the Baptist church up until my kids were probably early middle school, late elementary, early middle school. And the youth group there were three, my two and one other. And for the kids' sake, for Kevin and Courtney's sake, we wanted a church where there was more youth. And so we visited Bologna Christian, we visited Driftwood Christian, and we knew several people here. And so we chose to bring the kids here and never look back.
When did you become a Christian?
I believe that I was around 12. We had a minister at the Baptist church that I absolutely loved. He was really, really into, we did a lot of things at church. We had youth group, we had things on Sundays, and there was just so many of us. And I just remember them talking a lot about hell, and I did not want to go to hell. And that's what I remember when I went up during I went forward to be, to say I wanted to be baptized and join the church during a revival. And another one of my classmates did that at the same time. And then, like I said, there was like 12 of us that got baptized at the same time.
How hard was it to be Christian throughout your life?
It was not that hard for me to be a Christian. I may have been what you'd call a quiet Christian. I went to church and I always did what I thought was right. And then reached a point in my life that I strayed. Probably the darkest part of my life as far as my Christian life. But I thank God I found my way back.
Was your relationship with God always a priority in your life?
Yeah, I believe it was, except for that one dark time. And then I made some decisions that I believed that God didn't love me anymore and that I'd really screwed up and that I couldn't come back from that. So it was really, really, it was not me. It was, it was almost like I could stand back and look at the choices that I had made. And I thought, oh my gosh, who are you? But God put people in my path that brought me back.
Do you have a daily prayer routine?
No, I don't. At night, I would like to, but no, I do not. At night, I usually try to pray, but I almost always fall asleep right in the middle of it. And I've had people say, well, that's a good thing because, look at babies. They always want to, they want to be held by their mothers or fathers. And I feel like kind of that's what's going on.
What was one of the worst days in your life?
The death of my mother.
How did you get through that?
I had a very, very close friend. Actually, it was a former student of mine that was playing in the National Football League, and he was in Indianapolis that day. And I called and asked him if he could come over. We were just waiting. And he came over, stayed with me the whole time because Jeff had to leave. Courtney had sectional track, and Kevin had senior finals. So Jeff wasn't there with me when that happened, when she passed. And so Stevie was there with me, held me up. And then I went, it was about an 8-week darkness. I mean, if you didn't know me then, you would not have known, but I lost 8 weeks after Mom died. And it was funny because it was almost like I woke up. We were going on a vacation. It was myself, Courtney, 2 of her friends, and 2 of their moms. And I remember we were going to the Wisconsin Dells. We'd made the vacation plans before Mom passed. And we were driving, and it was almost just like God shook me and was like, okay, it's time. It's time to wake up. It's time to get moving. And I remember we were up near those big windmill things. I'd never seen them before. And I thought, oh my gosh, where am I and where are we going? And then after that, I had a book, and Heaven is for Real, I think is the name of the book. Someone had given it to me, and I just packed it around because I just couldn't read it. And I read it on that trip, and it was it just, I know it sounds corny, but it really did. Those 8 weeks, it brought me back, and it made my faith a whole lot stronger. So,
what was one of the best days of your lives?
The days that I had my children. Yeah, that was probably my best day, was when God gave me my kids, because I didn't know if I would be able to have children, and then to be able to have them 18 months apart, and to have a boy and a girl. I felt very blessed.
Have you ever been in a dangerous or scary situation?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. I've been in a car wreck. I was the first one off the bus when Mr. Blevins was shot I saw him get shot in the parking lot. I've been with people when they die. Just, yeah, scary. Some things are more scary than others, So.
Have you ever experienced a miracle?
Yeah, I do. I believe that the birth of children is a miracle. I still to this day can't believe that people that don't believe that there is a God And if you just stop and think about, two little cells can come together to make a child that then grows up, all the systems, the circulatory system, I mean, that just don't happen. I mean, that's just not happenstance. So I think every time a child is born is a miracle.
Have you had God draw close to you?
Absolutely. Yes. I think the death of my mother after I came back, I feel like I feel like God has been working in my life a lot more. I'm more, I'm more able to talk to people about death, because death before my mom it was taboo. I wouldn't even go to a funeral home without my mom. And now I'm kind of like those old ladies in these books that you read, if they've got cookies, I'm there, you know. I feel like it's not scary to me anymore. I feel like, I don't want to die right now. But I'm not afraid to die. I think that's the going to heaven is our final prize. And it doesn't bother me to talk about it and open up. And so I think God uses me in those ways a lot of times.
How do you make big decisions in your life?
I talk to my friends. I talk to God a lot, to show me, guide me, help me see. Sometimes I feel like God has to send me a letter. Dear Sherry, this is what you need to do. Love God, But I'm trying to be more aware of His presence in simpler things.
What's your biggest regret in life?
I always wanted to go to college, and I did go to college, but I always wanted to go to college and live on campus, because I made decisions that didn't happen. But I did go back after I'd been out of school a while and got my college degree, but I never got to live and get that actual college life, kind of life before life experience.
What's your biggest accomplishment?
I think listening to God and allowing Him to lead me into the career. I never wanted to be a teacher, ever, never. When I was in high school, we did the cadet teaching, and I did my cadet teaching with Trudy Brown. She was a first grade teacher, and I thought, oh, good Lord, how can anybody do this? It's snot, tie my shoe, teacher, so Bobby touched me, or he's looking at me, and I thought, oh my gosh, no. I do not ever want to be a teacher. And then I went to school I wanted to be a dentist, believe it or not, like the little boy on is it the abominable, where the abominable snowman is, that little guy is it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, where the little guy wants to be a dentist? Yeah. So I wanted to be a dentist, and I still to this day don't know exactly how I got shuffled over into secondary science, but I do believe it was a God thing. And so I think, other than my children, I think my biggest accomplishment is the work that I did in my teaching career. Even though I didn't want to do that, I think God knew that was where I needed to be. So that's probably my biggest accomplishment.
Do you have a favorite Bible verse?
I like that. If it was my favorite, I would know it right off the bat. I'm not good. The older I get, the worse I get with messing up numbers and things like that. The Jeremiah Bible, the verse that says, that God knows I can't even tell you what it is. What am I thinking? God knows what He wants us to be. He wants us to prosper and all that. That's probably the one that comes to my mind first. Now I need to learn which one it is. Jeremiah something. Yeah. There's a lot of them. Favorite character in the Bible? No, not really. I'm in awe by a lot of them.
What do you look forward to the most about heaven?
Oh my gosh. Seeing the people that I loved and that I missed, and that went before me that I never got to meet. People of God's people, my grandparents, my the people ahead, that built my family, things like that.
Do you have any questions for God?
Oh, honey. Yes. God, he may let me live to be 110 because he doesn't want me up there to hit him with all the questions that I have. I have numerous, tons of questions for God. And one of them that I probably one of the first ones I'm going to ask is about suffering. Why do you allow people that are suffering that, I know everything happens for a reason, but I don't see when people are like in a nursing home or in a hospital and there's no other than, a biblical miracle, they're not going to come back. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why you can't find their home sooner, instead of allowing them to suffer. But that's I know there's an answer. Once I get there and I ask all these questions, I know God's going to have an answer for me.
If you could give one piece of advice to people today, what would it be?
I would tell them to absolutely hold on to God, find out as much as you can about God, lean on him for anything and everything. This world is getting to be scarier and scarier, and I truly believe that we are getting closer and closer to the end times. But I just don't see how anybody can survive this life without God, and without your faith, and without your church family. So that's what I would say. I'd say find a church family, find your place with God, and allow him to lead your life.
What are you living for? What wakes you up in the morning?
Well, I know that God has got reasons for me. There's days I'm thinking, please don't let me get up. My grandbabies, got to meet that one. Got one to meet. I wish Kevin could find someone, but that's not my choice. That's his and God's. People, my friends. I'm just not ready to be done yet.
What do you think happens when we die?
I would like to believe that when we take that last breath, and I in my mind, I think there's angels there waiting for us. And then I think that in my mind, I picture God or Jesus or both standing there at the gate waiting, and we take that last breath and we can run. When right before my uncle passed away, and even my mom, I told my mom, I said, Mom, run into the arms of Jesus. I think that's, I just think it's a big, big celebration. It's almost like the finale, the ultimate finale. And I think it'll be a great day.
I'd like to thank Sherry for their time and discussing her faith. Do you have anything?
No, I just want to say that anybody's looking for a home church, they should come and try here first. Lots of love here, lots of people that will support you and help you in your journey.